I met my husband's other wife. My name is Gina, I'm 34 years old, and up until 3 weeks ago, I thought I had the perfect marriage. My husband Samuel and I have been together for 8 years, married for 5. He works as an IT consultant and travels a lot for work, or so I thought. We live in Denver, Colorado, in a beautiful home we bought together. We have 2 golden retrievers, and I genuinely believed we were that couple everyone envies on Instagram. Samuel was always very private about his work. He said his clients required complete confidentiality, so he couldn't talk much about his projects. I respected that. He traveled about 2 weeks a month, always to different cities: Portland, Phoenix, Atlanta. He always came back with thoughtful little gifts, photos of cool places he'd visited, and stories about restaurants he'd tried. It all seemed legit. I should have paid more attention to the small inconsistencies, like how he never complained about jet lag, even when returning from the East Coast, or how he always knew exactly where things were in our house, even after being gone for 2 weeks, as if he'd never really left. But I was in love and trusted him completely. Everything started falling apart on a Thursday in March. Samuel had left for Seattle the Monday before, supposedly for a 2-week project. I was leaving Target when I saw our car, a very specific gray Honda Civic with a Bronco sticker I had put on myself, parked in a Whole Foods lot just 3 blocks from our house. My first thought was that someone had stolen it. I called Samuel immediately, but it went straight to voicemail. I called the police, but they said I'd need to wait longer before it could be reported as stolen, especially since I wasn't 100% sure. So I did something I'd normally never do. I waited. When I saw someone come out of Whole Foods and get into the car, I followed. It was Samuel, my husband, who was supposed to be 2,500 miles away, driving our car like it was nothing. I followed him at a safe distance, heart pounding. He drove to a residential neighborhood about 20 minutes from our home, a place I'd never been. He pulled into the driveway of a light blue colonial house with a perfectly manicured garden and a silver minivan parked out front. I parked at the corner and watched him grab grocery bags and a briefcase from the back seat. He didn't look nervous. He looked at home. He used a key to unlock the front door and walked in like it was the most natural thing in the world. I sat in my car for 2 hours completely stunned. What the hell was going on? My mind raced. Was he cheating? Was this a safe house for work? Was he involved in something illegal? Then I saw a woman pull into the driveway in the minivan. She was beautiful, brown wavy hair, around my age, wearing medical scrubs. She grabbed a purse and what looked like Chinese takeout, then used a key to open the front door. 20 minutes later, the living room lights came on, and I could see silhouettes moving behind the curtains. 2 adult figures and... wait, a third, smaller one. There were 3 people in that house: Samuel, the unknown woman, and a child. I drove home in total shock and didn't sleep at all. The next day, I went back to that street to watch. I saw Samuel leave the house in a different suit, kiss the woman goodbye at the front door, kiss her, and drive away in our car. This went on for 3 days. Samuel living a completely different life just 20 minutes from our home while I was alone, worried, texting him to ask how the project in Seattle was going. That Friday, I worked up the courage to knock on that house's front door. The woman answered, and when she saw me, her expression shifted from confusion to something I can only describe as recognition and sheer horror. "You must be Gina," she said softly. How did she know my name? "I'm Brooke. I think we need to talk." I found out that Brooke Norton, she used his last name too, had been married to Samuel for 6 years. 6 years, a full year longer than I had. They met when Samuel was temporarily transferred to Denver for work. She thought he was living with me as a roommate because he couldn't afford rent alone. They had a 4-year-old daughter named Emma, a sweet little girl with Samuel's blue eyes and his smile. Brooke showed me their wedding photos, a small ceremony in Las Vegas 6 months before Samuel and I got married. She showed me certificates, documents, joint bank accounts, all real, all legal. Samuel had been living 2 completely separate lives with 2 wives for years. And here's the part that will blow your mind. Brooke wasn't mad at me. She was furious at him. But with me, she was curious, almost relieved. "I always knew something was off," she said as we drank coffee in her kitchen, Emma coloring quietly at the table. "He was too perfect, too careful, never left anything out of place, never forgot a single thing, always had an answer. Living with Samuel is like living with someone constantly performing." She was right. I'd never thought of it that way. But Samuel was too rehearsed. Every gesture, every word, every facial expression seemed scripted. "And you?" Brooke asked. "Did he tell you he lived alone? That I was just a roommate?" "He never mentioned you," I admitted. "He said he traveled a lot for work." We spent the next 4 hours comparing our lives with Samuel. The similarities were disturbing and almost funny. He gave us the same gifts. Brooke showed me a necklace nearly identical to the one he gave me for our 2-year anniversary. He told the same jokes. He had the same quirks in both houses. But the strangest thing? Our routines never overlapped because Samuel had orchestrated our lives so they wouldn't. Brooke worked hospital shifts, 3 days on, 4 days off. Samuel was with her on her days off and with me when she worked. When she worked weekends, Samuel was traveling and stayed with me. When I had family plans or girls' nights, he traveled to be with her. He had turned our lives into a perfectly synchronized algorithm. Brooke and I sat in silence, absorbing the magnitude of it all. Then Emma, who had been incredibly well-behaved through this surreal conversation, looked at me and said, "Do you know my daddy? You kind of look like him." That broke me. This sweet, innocent little girl was about to have her entire world upended because of her father's lies. But then Brooke said something that changed everything. "Gina, I know this is going to sound completely insane, but do you want to catch him red-handed? Together?" At first I thought she was joking, but Brooke was completely serious. "Look, we were both deceived. We both lost years of our lives to a lie. But if we confront him separately, he'll twist it around, make us look crazy, and probably keep doing this to others." She was right. Samuel was too manipulative, too smart to get caught off guard by just one of us. "Besides," she added, "if we're going to expose this fraud, we need solid evidence. For the lawyers, for divorce, for everything." So we began to plan. First, we documented everything. Brooke had access to Samuel's personal laptop. Apparently, he was less careful at her house since Emma used it to play games. We found files showing he had studied our routines meticulously. There were spreadsheets with our schedules, preferences, even notes on our menstrual cycles so he could predict our moods. That was sociopathic on a level I never imagined possible. We also discovered that Samuel wasn't really an IT consultant, at least not in the way he'd told us. He did freelance work online, graphic design, web development, stuff he could do from anywhere. The whole traveling for work story was completely made up. But the most shocking discovery came when Brooke found a folder called Contingency Plans. Samuel had detailed escape plans in case he was discovered. Plans to disappear, change identity, even manipulate us into fighting each other instead of teaming up against him. This man had planned every detail of his double life like a military operation. Our sting operation happened on a Tuesday. Brooke called Samuel saying Emma was sick and she needed him home ASAP. At the same time, I messaged him saying there was a plumbing emergency at our house and I needed help. Samuel told Brooke he was stuck in a meeting in Phoenix but would try to catch a flight. To me, he said he was on a critical project in Portland but would try to return by the end of the day. Meanwhile, Brooke and I positioned ourselves. She stayed at her house. I stayed at ours. We had friends staked out at key locations around the city to see where Samuel would show up first. He showed up at Brooke's house. Brooke recorded everything on her phone. She confronted him at the front door about the lies, about me, about everything. Samuel tried to deny it at first, then pivoted, said he could explain everything, that it wasn't what it looked like. That's when I walked in. I entered through the back door. Brooke had given me a key, and walked into the living room while Samuel was still trying to convince her I was just a friend going through a hard time, who he was temporarily helping. "Hi, honey," I said, stepping into the room. "Phoenix wasn't as far as you thought, huh?" The look on Samuel's face is something I'll never forget. Pure terror, like he'd seen a ghost. He tried a few more desperate lies, but it was over. He collapsed into the armchair and just confessed. He told us he had started it all without meaning to. He met Brooke first, fell in love, married her. Then, when he was transferred to Denver, he met me and fell in love again. Instead of choosing, he decided he could have both. He truly believed he was giving his best self to both of us, that he was being a perfect husband to two women instead of a mediocre one-to-one. He had planned to keep it going forever. He never intended to tell us, never intended to choose. He had built this elaborate system because he genuinely believed he could make it work forever. The most disturbing part? He seemed genuinely surprised that we were upset, as if he couldn't comprehend why two women wouldn't want to secretly share a husband. Now, 3 weeks later, I'm staying at my sister's apartment in Boulder, trying to make sense of it all. Samuel moved into a hotel. Apparently, he had savings, probably from years of not paying full rent or utilities. Brooke and I are in regular contact. We've both hired lawyers, and the legal case is complicated. Apparently, bigamy is illegal in Colorado, but proving it is hard since Samuel only legally married one of us. He forged documents for the other marriage. But here's the craziest part. Brooke and I have become actual friends. We've been through this traumatic experience together, and there's something about having someone who knows exactly what you went through, who was deceived the same way by the same person. Brooke is smart, funny, strong, and I get why Samuel fell for her. I also understand why he thought he could have both of us. We're different enough to appeal to different parts of his personality, but similar enough that he could use the same persona on both. Emma is adjusting surprisingly well. Brooke was honest with her, in an age-appropriate way, about what happened. Emma knows her dad did something very wrong and won't be living with them anymore, but she doesn't fully grasp the depth of the betrayal yet. What bothers me most is that part of me misses Samuel, not the real man. I realize now I never really knew him, but I miss the version of him I thought I knew. The loving, romantic husband who always knew what to say, who never forgot an anniversary or preference, who seemed to understand me completely. Of course he understood me. He had been studying my reactions for years like I was a science experiment. Brooke says she feels the same. We're both mourning relationships that never actually existed. The worst part is feeling like I can't trust my own judgment anymore. If I could be deceived so completely by someone who slept next to me every night, how will I ever know if I can trust someone again? But Brooke reminds me that Samuel wasn't just a regular liar. He was something rarer and more dangerous. Someone with the ability to maintain multiple complex identities for years without slipping. Most people don't have that capacity or that pathological need for control. I'm still processing it all. Some days I'm angry. Some days I'm sad. Some days I'm just genuinely amazed by the absurd audacity of it all. Brooke and I even joked about writing a book together. How to Find Out Your Husband Has Another Family, a survival guide for accidental sister wives. I know this all sounds like a movie script, but I swear on everything holy it happened exactly like this. Sometimes real life is stranger than fiction. Now I'm trying to rebuild my life from scratch at 34, figuring out who I am when I'm not being meticulously manipulated by a high-functioning sociopath. It's terrifying, but also kind of liberating. Has anyone here been through anything even remotely like this? How did you learn to trust again after a betrayal this massive? And yes, before you ask, we both got tested for STDs. Thankfully, we're physically okay. Emotionally, well, we're working on it.
Comment. What would you do in this situation? If you like this video, don't forget to like and share so we can bring you more stories like this. Keep an eye out for more stories. Hope you have a good day.